Let me tell you why you shouldn't play with your shadow. He said he was really young at the time, like he was a young boy. And one night, right before his bedtime, he was just playing around. And for some reason, he just started playing with his shadow, just dancing with his shadow. He was dancing and dancing and dancing, and he was having a great time. And finally, when it was time for him to go to bed, he went to bed. And this is when it starts. Have y'all ever heard of the Hat Man? The man in the hat that supposedly is in everybody's dream, right? When he was telling me this story, y'all, he didn't even know who the Hat Man was. And I had to tell him, I was like, yo, he was in your dream too? Anyways, he goes to sleep and he wakes up in the middle of the night. He said he was dreaming, but it wasn't a dream. Like like the way it felt, it was not a dream. He woke up, but it was not a dream. I don't know how to explain it. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, he wakes up and there's the Hat Man. The Hat Man walks into his room and just looks at him with this creepy smile. He is terrified, y'all. So then the Hat Man walks closer to him, and guess what he tells him? Come dance with me. Come dance with me. And as he's saying, come dance with me, he's backing up. He's like, come dance with me. Come dance with me. He's backing up. And as he backs up, he gets to the door, he stops. And all of a sudden, my godfather hears drums outside. Now, if you're Caribbean, it's not just like the regular drums, but like the tambu. And if you know tambu, tambu sounds like that was a terrible interpretation, but you get it. And it sounds like there is a party outside. And as soon as the drum starts going, the Hat Man starts dancing right there in front of him. And the dance that he was doing, my godfather said is so creepy. At this point, he's crying. Like, he's a young boy, and at this point, he is in tears, y'all. And the Hat Man just keeps telling him, come dance with me. Come dance with me. Come dance with me. He's dancing and is telling him, come dance with me. He's dancing. It's like, and it's like a whole lot of people outside. You hear the people outside dancing and partying, kind of like a ritual, right? My godfather is screaming, crying. So then his mom, for some reason, she knew what was going on. I don't know how, but she knew what was going on. She came into that room, took him to her room. Now, obviously, she didn't see anything in the room. It was only my godfather that saw everything that was happening. Oh, but the story doesn't end there. So he goes to his mom's room, and of course he feels a little bit safer, because he's with his mom, so he goes back to sleep. Then he starts dreaming again, but this time the dream was a little different. He starts dreaming that he's somewhere in his neighborhood home, right? And then he sees this group of people in all white. Everybody's dressed in all white. And then when he says this to me, he goes, this is why till this day I think all white parties are really some kind of ritual, bro, and people don't even know. But anyway, so everybody is in all white, and guess what? Same thing, except the Hat Man is not there. It's all different types of people. And then there's this lady, and it's the same thing. Drums, everybody's dancing, and he starts getting scared all over again, because now he's having a nightmare. And there's this lady that steps out, and the lady comes and says, come dance with us. Come on, come dance with us. Come dance with us. And he books it. And the lady, he vividly remembers the face of this lady, because obviously, it was terrifying for him in his dream. So he books it, he runs, whatever. He wakes up, it's the next day, it's fine. But it doesn't end there. The next day, while he's home, guess who comes in front of his house? The lady that he saw from the dream. The lady comes in front of his house where his mother was, and starts cursing at his mother, and starts cursing at him. And I mean, she's cursing. I mean, she's going. She is going, and she's cursing them out for no reason. And she's saying hurtful things that would piss you off, things that would make you want to punch somebody. But his mom says nothing. And his mom looks at him and says, do not respond. Do not say anything. She tells my godfather to get in the house, and he does, but she stays outside. And mind you, the lady is only getting madder because she's not getting a response. She's going in. Mind you, she was causing a scene. People are starting to gather around to figure out, what is this lady's problem? And finally, once she realizes that his mom knows what she's doing and she's not responding, she starts to pick up rocks and throwing it at the house. And all his mom did was look at her and say, I know you're here for my son, but you won't be getting him. And just gets in the house and says nothing else to her. And eventually, she leaves. Now, what happened was, they wanted her son. They wanted her son's soul. She knew that. But we don't know how she knew that. But then again, it's our elders. Like, there's certain things that they just know and that we don't. And my godfather almost says that, like, till this day, he asked his mother, like, how did you know? Now, I think the lesson in this story is that you don't always have to engage with everybody that tries to get on your nerves.
And I had a spiritual attachment for 9 months. Started about a year ago when we went to see his family in South Carolina and go to a cemetery. We went with the siblings to play Find My Grave with a spirit box. Find My Grave is basically like you ask the spirit box questions and see if the spirit like guides you to their grave, basically gives you clues and whatever. So we start doing this, and all of a sudden we hear these music notes coming out of a spirit box that were going da-da, da-da. And that was kind of the spirit's answer as yes, you know. So like we would say, is your grave over here? It would go da-da. Were you a man? Da-da. And then we were like, wait, were you a music teacher? And it goes da-da. So that was pretty crazy. We walked all around the cemetery trying to find this spirit, very active with us. And then all of a sudden, everything went silent for like 25 minutes. So then we were kind of like, okay, whatever, maybe this is BS. So we started to nickname this guy Music Man throughout this whole thing. So we, at the end, decided to leave. And we were like, okay, bye, Music Man. And after 25 minutes of silence, it goes, Dana. And we were like, holy crap. Is this recording? Okay. So a few days go by. We go home. I used to work in an art gallery, which I believe was haunted. So I turn on the spirit box. I was alone in the art gallery, and I was like, is there anybody here? Whatever. And the first thing that happens is Dana. So I felt a little unsettled, but I was like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with the spirit box. Like, this has just all been BS. Like, it's just like a malfunction in the spirit box or whatever. Until I go on another ghost investigation with a psychic that I trust, and I go with my boyfriend. Turn on the spirit box. Starts going, Dana. The psychic goes, I'm seeing 6 people in a cemetery going with a spirit box. I'm seeing like a really old cemetery. I'm seeing a lonely man. I'm seeing a lost grave. You have something with you. And we were like, whoa, how did you know how many people were with us? You're seeing a lost grave? And she's like, yes, you have someone with you. He really likes your energy. He died alone. Yada, yada, yada. And we're like, oh God. And so during this time, the spirit box is going, Dana, 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 Dana. Okay. Fast forward to our next ghost investigation. We are in Griffith Park, and I have this on camera. I will post it again so you can see. So we're doing a ghost investigation. We hear the Dana, Dana, Dana over and over again. And then finally, the spirit box says, and I have this on camera, Music Man. He started to identify what we were calling him, his nickname. And I start crying. I get really emotional, and I'm like, you know your name is Music Man. How? And then he finally speaks for the first time, and he has this accent. And he goes, I'm proud of it. Over and over again, I'm proud of it. And he goes, family, and all this kind of stuff. And it made us really emotional. Yeah, okay. So here's the next thing. We do another ghost investigation, okay? The Dana thing is happening. He also likes doing opera. He'll go, ah, ah. So he's like adding other music, but you know it's him. At this point, like, you know it's him, okay? I don't even really know how to describe it. But anyways, he starts to send us a message. During this ghost investigation, and I have this all on camera, he says the number 34 at least 25 to 30 times. He keeps going 34, 34, 34, 34. And we're like, what are you trying to tell us? And he doesn't tell us what he's trying to say, okay? So then the next day, I'm going on an Instagram Live. I also have this on camera. And I turn on the spirit box, and I'm telling my audience what was going on with the 34 thing. And all of a sudden, in front of everyone on the live, he starts saying 34, 34, 34. So many people saw this happening, and we're like, what does this number mean? What is going on? I looked at plot lines at the cemetery we were at. I looked at codes, I looked at angel numbers, and I looked at everything, and I still haven't found the real answer to what 34 was, okay? But this gets even better, so just keep watching. At this point, I'm just using Music Man in my ghost investigations. I'm like, hey, can you see if there's another spirit? Like, can you bring them out and whatever? And can you protect us? Whatever. Okay. This is when it gets crazy. My boyfriend's looking for something for me for Christmas. And I love the Misfits. They're like one of my favorite bands. And he is at a vintage store. And in the back of a rack is this shirt. No context. Misfits font. And it says Music Man. And he got it for me for Christmas. But it was weird. Why was that sitting in the back? This lady said at the store that it's been there for a while. No one knows where it came from or what it is. I know there's like the musical Music Man, but it didn't look like one of those theater musical shirts, right? Okay, I have it. I'll show it to you guys. Okay, this is the shirt, Music Man. There's nothing, no more information about it anywhere on the shirt. It just says Music Man, okay? I go ghost investigating a store. I hear the Dana, and I'm like, hey, Music Man, like, whatever. And he goes, present, in his voice, in his, like, howdy voice. I'm going, like, what? Like, what are you trying to say? And he goes, Christmas present. He literally said Christmas present. He is such an intelligent spirit. And I know you guys are going to start saying, like, oh, he's negative, whatever, blah, blah. No. He never was. Like, he felt in a weird way like family, and I'm not trying to like sound crazy. I got info about him from multiple psychics, and they're like, no, he died alone. And like everyone I've told this story to feels like he was left on earth for some reason to learn a lesson, to figure out something, to be a part of something he wasn't a part of in his life. Like, he wanted to experience something. And now, I think we went to the Clown Motel, and he was there with us. I have it all on camera, too, on my YouTube. And I'm like, oh, that's Music Man. And he's going, Dana, Dana, whatever. He's, like, very reactive. And then all of a sudden, after that investigation, he's gone. He hasn't talked to us since. And we're trying to wonder why, like, what happened. And, like, sometimes we joke, we're like, oh, we miss him, whatever. And, I mean, obviously, like, no, it's not good to, like, have an attachment around you all the time. But we wondered why. Like, what was the moment? Like, why did he finally leave after 9 months of just trying to send us messages and being so responsive and being so aware of our lives? Like, what lesson did he learn? And that's what I'm still trying to figure out. And I don't care if you guys don't believe me or not, but this is a very real thing that happened to me, and I have footage for most of this to back it up. So if you're curious to learn more, or if you know anything about why this happened or about the number 34, like, please let me know, because this is what made me believe in the paranormal. It was him saying Music Man on the spirit box, him sending us messages multiple times. The Christmas present thing at the end was just like so insane, and I'm still trying to just like figure it out.
This happened in Antioch, California. It was around 2 a.m. I was at a friend's house, safe in warm, sheltered suburbia. We were having a lot to drink, chit-chatting, enjoying ourselves, of course. When you're having fun, time hits the fast-forward button, and those few minutes turn into an hour. I had too much to drink. My friend has a bit of an abrupt bedtime, so I had to dodge out early, still intoxicated. I felt too shameful thinking I'd be asking too much to stay in his house to sleep off the drunkenness. I suppose he was either too rude or too drunk to consider it himself. Whatever. Sometimes a little inconvenience makes you appreciate everything else. I needed about another hour or so to sober up and drive back. As fast as time passed during my stay, it decided to drastically slow down as soon as I stepped out of his house. It was a cul-de-sac area, a concrete jungle with the stem of the street breaking into a fork. Alongside the road, my car was parked. The only street light that worked was in the middle of the cul-de-sac circle, about 80 yards away. I stumbled towards my car, produced my keys, and felt the metal line up. Opened my door and shifted to the back seat. Because this was a dark, strange, and unfamiliar neighborhood, I took the leftover newspapers and a sweater in my back seat to cover myself up. I was a little scared. I wanted to camouflage myself and not just be some guy awkwardly sitting in his car, waiting for time to pass in order to drive home. I couldn't fall asleep. The uncomfortable feeling of a cheap backseat bed enshrouded in darkness didn't make the chance of slumber easier. It felt too ominous, and of course my mind began to wonder. I thought of worst-case scenarios, like how the police would shine their lights on me through the window, or a drunk driver hitting my car, and... Wait. In the distance, about 100 yards away, I hear footsteps approaching. The gravel scuffed with each step forward, growing in proximity but periodically taking stops. I wondered why until it made sense in my mind. Whoever it was probably looking through cars carefully, with the intent to steal one. I couldn't recall how many cars were on the block, but I counted 3 full stops until he was at my window, breathing. I froze. There was no more than 1 foot between us. The car encapsulated me as I lay hidden beneath backseat clutter, forming myself into an object, trying my hardest to be unnoticeable, unmoving, and simply not there. "I see you," said a 40-plus-year-old man in a perverse baby talk. I imagine when you were playing hide and seek and one of your friends tricks you into coming out, he said it in that tone of voice, as if baiting me, like he was questioning whether the clutter in the back seat was just clutter or a person. I didn't want to move or check the window. I remained clutter. Give me an Academy Award. My body reacted by minimizing my breathing so much that I felt paralyzed. I dare not to look. My eyes fixated on the back of the passenger seat. I didn't blink, I didn't move, I didn't breathe. My heart was pounding so hard it shook my body with each throb. He circled around the car. My ears didn't fail me. I heard the steps. I felt like I was part of the car. I could feel him touching the trunk as he carefully pressed down on it, as if to test the alarm, as if to test me. I was in the middle of fight or flight. I couldn't do either without elevating danger. I was frozen and hoping to God he was bluffing. He circled the car again. The door handle to my right jiggled. He was pulling it multiple times. "I see you." Same tone, but more agitated and stressed, more convinced that he was trying to make that clutter move, revealing itself to be one of his expectations that it was me. My muscles tensed like a cow before slaughter. That had to be metal against glass. "Take a penny right now and tap your window." A crowbar, a knife, a rock, a gun. My eyes fixated on the seat in front of me, never averting my gaze like he was. I was covered enough to where I couldn't see beyond the seat in front of me. I know I couldn't see him, but I can feel his eyes resting on top of me.
"My name is Poker Face. What's your name?"
The voice changed, in a lower, demented, and serious tone. My mind forced a visual. It wasn't anything human. I already accepted my death. I was ready to be shot in the head, ready to take a life-changing bullet, multiple knife wounds. Just make the sleep bearable, not excruciating, as you drained me of life. I wouldn't know how to react. My thoughts grew dimmer. I imagined my friend waking up the next morning after a calm night of safe and sound sleep, only to discover my mutilated, defiled, and bloody body hanging outside of my car door. It was then I heard nothing but my own heart. What was this person doing now? Just staring at me in the middle of the night, talking to me, or a messy pile in the back seat? Time froze. The footsteps were being swallowed in the distance. Thank God he left. I waited another hour until the sun showed hints of itself. I jumped in my front seat and bolted out of there, wide-eyed and sober. And that's the end of the story.